Yo, so I'm gonna get just a little bit real with you here right off the bat. It's relevant for the rest of the video, so just stick with me for a second. I'm not sure where this is going to end up. And I'm not talking about this video, I mean like the whole channel. I've been thinking a bit about success in the online sphere a lot recently, and this thing it's difficult. Like, this whole system caters to 3 types of success stories. People who play into the system and try to use it to their advantage, people who just happen to get really lucky, or people who have like a ton of money to burn. But like, that's life, isn't it? No, really, like our entire society is just that. And most people aren't born with everything set out for them. You either chain yourself to the system or happen to get lucky and manage to break through on your own. You could work your entire life towards your goals and aspirations, dedicate every waking moment, your blood, sweat, and tears, and still you might never reach them. Contrary to what all the stories say, not everyone gets to be a winner. Yeah, way to kick off the video, I know. I've been thinking about a lot of this kind of stuff recently, and it's all this game's fault. Starstruck Hands of Time is an odd game. One part rhythm game, one part narrative-driven adventure game, and another part giant hand destroys the city game. And also a 4th part existential dread and have an honest conversation with yourself game. My history with Starstruck sort of started almost a decade ago. In 2015, I attended a small convention in Tucson, Arizona called Camp Fangamer. Camp Fangamer was the self-described first Earthbound convention in the USA and was put on by Fangamer and the community on starmen.net. A lot of different things happened that weekend, and this video really isn't kind of equipped to explore the entirety of that event. So if you're curious, there's an official video doc called What Was Camp Fangamer? I've got a link in the description. You should go take a look. Relevant to this story, there was this small boardroom that they had converted into a showcase floor for game demos made by members of the community. There were a ton of different games shown off of a bunch of different genres, the most notable, of course, being Y2K and Undertale. I actually got like a weird advertisement done live by Toby Fox. He didn't have a trailer or a screenshot or anything. He just was like sitting on the floor with a pile of papers and a cutout of the annoying dog on a popsicle stick, and he did like a weird funny voice. Very odd way to drum up attention for your game, but hey, you know, it worked out, so I'm not gonna judge him. This is where I first had a chance to meet Max Ponaroff, Starstruck's creator. His demo was sort of a proof of concept for a game, but the ideas seemed pretty cool. So when he told me to stay tuned for news, I was very excited to see what he would come up with. Oh damn, it's real. In 2020, Ponaroff released the first demo for Starstruck, followed by the full release 4 years later. And let me tell you, this is a weird game. In Starstruck, you play as a pair of disembodied arms. Okay, well, you actually play as the captain. As you start the game, you actually get to customize your hands, tweaking skin tone and hand girth? I didn't really feel it would be appropriate to try and recreate what I've got going on here, so I kind of just left all the settings how I found them. Regardless, you're a time traveler from the year 30XX on a mission to prevent the end of the world in the year 20XX. According to your AI assistant Hadley, some evil something called the Mold was responsible for the destruction of Earth, and you need to stop it. After poking around in this cool retro-looking interface, we're ready to start the mission. Monitor subject A11 and figure out how to stop the end of the world. Before we do that though, if you're enjoying the video so far, then make sure to hit that like button, and to keep up with me and the rest of my content, you're gonna also want to hit that subscribe button too. And if this video makes you feel existential and you want your friends to feel that way too, make sure to send them a link, because that's the easiest way for me to grow. Yay! Anyways, on with the mission. Welcome to Florida. As you can see by the microplastics, abundance of clutter, and the day-drinking mailman, this is a very accurate depiction of the average Floridian experience. It's here, in this little blue house, that we're introduced to our second main character, subject A11, also known as Edwin. Good-natured, earnest, and just a little bit awkward, Edwin has dreams of becoming a popular musician, just like his childhood friend Dawn. And tonight is special. Edwin and his friend Zach have been given an opportunity to open for Dawn's band, Two Dreams from Sleep. Could this finally be his big break? Taking control of Edwin, we get an opportunity to start looking around the town and talking with the residents. Pretty much the entire game takes place within this little diorama, so now feels like an appropriate time to talk about the game's visuals. All of Starstruck's characters are designed to resemble clay models. We can see clear inspiration was taken from the models used in promotional materials for the Mother series, as well as claymation puppets like the ones used by Leica Studios. Through an intentional design choice, however, Starstruck's character models forgo the nearly perfect smoothness seen in traditional stop-motion characters, opting instead to include small imperfections on the models such as ever so slightly bumpy surfaces or even the ridges of fingerprints. This handmade quality to the models is further complemented by the overall craft aesthetic of the world. I actually had an opportunity to pose the game's creator, Max Ponaroff, a couple questions about the game. Thanks again, I really do appreciate the help. When I asked about the art direction, he explained that the intention was for there to be a clear visual distinction between the captain's ship from 30XX and Edwin's town from 20XX. Yet, at the same time, there needed to be a connecting aesthetic line between the two locations. That line ended up being the giant hand destroys the city gameplay system I mentioned earlier. Since one of the key game mechanics is dropping a hand down into the world and trashing everything, it makes a lot of sense to design the environment and set pieces to look like something we commonly interact with using our hands. Stuff like nails, wooden blocks, even baseballs and golf balls. This style not only feels novel, but really helps you connect to the giant disembodied hand you're playing as. Speaking of which, as we try and approach the abandoned factory where Dawn's band's gonna be performing, we're stopped by the town bully, who doesn't have any plans to let us through. We're gonna have to find a way around this guy. Luckily for us, Hadley pulls us back out to the ship to let us know that an update has been sent to us from our team in the future. The hand stages are some of Starstruck's most chaotic and entertaining levels. Your goal is to alter the town in some way to allow the main characters to continue with the story. In the case of the warehouse, we need to hammer in these nails that make up part of the fence. Unfortunately, we don't have a hammer to work with. This is where we're introduced to the real goal of these stages. Destroy as much of the city as possible within a set amount of time. By smashing the town up in the past, it weakens the temporal barrier and allows our team to send us tools from the future. The combination of carousel music and the giant hand wreaking havoc on this tiny diorama, clay models and prop pieces flying everywhere, it just makes this really comedic, absurd tone that it's fun. It's just fun. And then they got a high score tracker so you can smash better. It's 10 out of 10. It's good game design. I like it. Now that we actually have access to the factory, we can meet our third main character, Dawn. She invites Edwin and Zach on stage and introduces their duo. Okay, so it turns out Edwin doesn't actually have a name for his group, so he just kind of rips off Dawn's. Now, while this moment is incredibly embarrassing, it is a key demonstration of one of Edwin's central flaws, as well as one of the game's central themes. I'll get more into that in a little bit, but for now, it's time for Edwin and Zach's performance. Now, it hasn't really been brought up until just now, but Starstruck Hands of Time is a rhythm game. The gameplay is very similar to stuff like Guitar Hero and Rock Band, and also Osu, but we'll get into that in like a couple minutes. However, unlike those games where the notes descend down the guitar's fretboard, Starstruck's song charts are structured more like sheet music. Notes show up in the spaces between the staff, and the charts progress left to right before wrapping around and continuing from the left side again. Additionally, at times the chart will move up and down octaves, which is telegraphed by this bright orange warning sign. Later in the game, you also get into these sections where they kind of ask you to improvise, which involves hitting whatever note you want in whatever order you want in time with a metronome. To be honest, I kind of found the horizontal orientation of the charts to be a bit disorientating. There were a few times where having to jump back and forth from the right side to the left cost me a missed note, and this is made especially bad when the game hits you with a complicated run. That said, overall the rhythm game sections are really well put together and a ton of fun once you get used to the non-standard chart presentation. Also, you can connect a guitar controller to play, which is frickin' sick. Now, the thing that really makes these sections so fun is the game's incredible soundtrack. Primarily composed by Andrew Allinson, part of the duo who created Y2K, the game's OST is a narratively atmospheric blend of genres including jazz, indie pop, funk, and even gospel. It's really, really good. And that goes beyond the rhythm game tracks. The whole OST is fantastic. Oh, yeah, and works really well with the tone and narrative the game presents. You know, those game design things. As Edwin and Zach play their song, which on the OST is ironically titled, "We're Gonna Be Huge," we watch as the audience seems confused, uninterested, and even bored. Their performance ends in silence, which is almost immediately broken by someone asking, "When's Dawn's band gonna start playing?" Edwin doesn't take this very well. As he shambles away in shame, Dawn steps out to try and console him. Edwin doesn't understand why the audience didn't like his performance and just assumes he sucks. The unfortunate truth is that Edwin doesn't suck, the crowd just wasn't feeling his music. Dawn explains that since he was opening for her band, people must have assumed that they'd play similar music. After all, everyone has their own unique taste, and it's up to us to find others who share those tastes. One failure doesn't define your worth as an artist. In fact, it's your ability to get back up when you're knocked down that allows you to grow and improve. To try and help cheer Edwin up, Dawn offers to let him fill the place of their absent guitarist for the night's concert, as long as he's cool with playing electric guitar. Now, I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting a fully voiced song when I started playing the game, but I mean, Starstruck delivered anyways. Break the Mold is not only Dawn's breakout hit, but also serves as one of the game's central leitmotifs. Additionally, the themes of artistic self-expression and staying true to your own passions remain a central part of the game's narrative. They, also go entirely over Edwin's head, as he decides that his takeaway from this experience is, if he just makes his music sound more like Dawn's, then people will like him. Before we're able to interrogate that, Dawn's mom, who also happens to be the town's chief of police, kicks in the door to break up the concert. Edwin and Zach make a break for it through a hole in the back of the set, but unfortunately Dawn gets tossed in jail for the night. As the two flee into the depths of the steam plant, they run into the best character in the game, Frog. Aside from being the GOAT, Frog gives a tutorial on dodging attacks mid-song through an Osu-like timing system. After this, Frog thanks us and scampers off.
Thank you.
We actually end up running into Frog's brother soon after, and he asks us to keep an eye on Frog because he's been going through a rough patch recently. This actually starts Frog's questline, but if you want to know about that, you're going to actually have to play the game yourself. Here, in the depths of the factory, we meet our central villain. This freaky statue of some guy named Ozwald. He overhears Zach telling Edwin how he hopes he can one day be as good a musician as Edwin and Dawn, and offers to grant his wish. He then surrounds Zach in this weird, moldy stuff and transforms him into a statue of Dawn. Freaking weird. What the hell? This is a pretty hit-you-over-the-head introduction to what the mold is, or does. But I don't think that being explicit from the outset is inherently a bad thing. That said, Zach didn't actually mean he wanted to turn into Dawn when he mentioned becoming a popular musician like her. So, we should, probably get him out of there. And what better way to do that than engage in an intense music battle with the statue of a disgraced German operatic composer turned real estate mogul, possessed by his own resentful ghost. This game is really weird. As Zach breaks free, the room begins to fill with steam and the two boys make a break for it, Edwin accidentally dropping his guitar that Dawn lent him in the process. Hadley pulls us back out to the ship for another break, before we eventually zoom back in to see how Edwin's doing, and ooh, that's not good. This strange, dirt-filled bowl is the fairy garden and serves as a representation of Edwin's mental state. It's in this realm that we meet the game's real central antagonist, this freaky snake. This is when the game starts getting mixed media again. It's really cool. Really cool. So the snake isn't actually a full character, but instead, at the moment, a physical manifestation of Edwin's insecurity, self-loathing, jealousy, and rage, amongst some other stuff. It's complicated. Dawn has something that makes her special. Something that supersedes Edwin's hard work. all of his effort, his practice. At the end of the day, she'll always steal away the love and attention of the audience. She stands at the center, radiant and flawless. Edwin will never be able to reach that center no matter how much he struggles, how hard he tries. But what if he could change, mold himself into a new shape? It's been done before, after all. The mold then instructs Edwin to go see his friend the ass, down below in the garden, who in turn tells Edwin to get his guitar invention to the cave. Deep in this cave we find an outhouse. Inside we meet Edwin's curiosity. The same curiosity that led him to pick up acoustic guitar in the first place. The same one that drove him to be a musician. And so Edwin takes the axe in hand. And kills his curiosity. This is the end of Starstruck Hands of Time's demo. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's cool, but what the hell was the opening of this video about? And, that's fair. What does my whole success isn't guaranteed lamentation have to do with quirky claymation guitar game? At its heart, Starstruck is a game deeply concerned with the nature of art and its role in our lives. From what drives an artist to the complicated relationship art has with inspiration and reference, the game posits a ton of difficult to answer questions. At its core though, the idea of not everyone can be the winner permeates every corner of the central narrative. When I asked Max if he'd be willing to describe these thoughts in his own words, he sent me an explanation that's been stuck in my head ever since. Starstruck is a story that's related to a contradiction in the modern worldview that we're all aware of deep down, but that we don't like to think about. Not everyone can be at the top. We're taught in school that all humans are equal, but then we're also taught that, according to science, humanity as a species was created in the first place through the deaths of the losers, a cruel and bloody process that's been clinically named survival of the fittest, so that we don't think about the horror of it too much. These two aspects of the modern materialist worldview are obviously contradictory, and I think on some level modern people are troubled by cognitive dissonance as a result. As the world becomes more and more bifurcated so rapidly that we can see it happening right before our eyes, I think this question will unfortunately keep popping up more and more as it has been doing anyway ever since Cain's sacrifice was rejected and Abel's was accepted. Shit's rough. He's not wrong, and the game does its best to introduce this as early as possible. It's not this initial moment of shame, though, that fully hammers this idea in, but in the greater metatextual structure of the narrative's presentation. At the same moment that Edwin and Zack flee deeper into the steam plant, we're presented with the option to start playing as Dawn. From that moment, it's all over for Edwin as the central character. Dawn has more character development, she has a more compelling backstory, and most damning, the main plot is directly connected to her childhood and home life. To further emphasize this subtle transition, we begin to lose interiority for Edwin as the game develops. Now, while I'm not sure if this really works for Edwin's characterization in the long run, it does wonders for this theme overall. No matter what he does, Edwin cannot claim the spotlight, not even in what should be his own game. Hell, he doesn't even get front billing on the game's box art or in the damn credits. The poor kid can't catch a break. As this is ongoing, the game starts floating the ideas of what does it mean to create art and how far are you willing to go to carve a name and a legacy for yourself through art. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into how this is presented because it would spoil a lot of the rest of the game, but let's just say, in the face of this desperation, Edwin is willing to do whatever it takes. Beneath its fun musical exterior, this game is bringing up a lot. Unfortunately, there comes a point where I'd say it brings up too much. Starstruck Hands of Time can be completed in a little over 5 hours at a relaxed pace. As the story progresses, more and more ideas are introduced, new questions posed, and various topics and historical figures referenced. And in quite a few cases, despite Hadley's attempted clarification, these ideas are not fully explained. It's not that the game can't explore all of these subjects, more that it doesn't give itself enough time to fully dive into them. This is further complicated by the rapid abstraction of the plot towards the end, moving from the concrete world of cause and effect of most narratives into the realm of metaphor and illusion. In a way, the game transforms from playable prose into poetry in game form. It's very fascinating from a literary perspective, but can become a bit hard to follow for the average player. With all that said, what I really just want is for the game to be just a little bit longer. With a few more hours of space to expand and explore all the different ideas presented, I think it would be more than possible to fully unpack everything the creator wanted to say. So, after all of that, should you give Starstruck Hands of Time a shot? Yes. Flaws included, this game is a work of art. From the fun rhythm gameplay and stunning art direction to the quirky dialogue and hard-hitting artistic questions, this game is an incredible experience I'd recommend to anyone, especially to those who make or want to make art. Hell, even the poetic abstraction in the final stretch feels like a unique look into the creator's psyche and is definitely worth experiencing. And while it would be in line with the game's main theme to just dwell in obscurity forever, unloved by the masses, I think it's much too cool an experience not to share with everyone. So, if you have like 5 or so hours to spare and any of this sounds even remotely interesting, please give Starstruck Hands of Time a shot. It really is an adventure worth trying out. Welcome to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, consider smacking that like button and comboing the subscribe button too. And also consider sharing this video with friends who might be interested in weird narrative rhythm games. I want to take a moment to thank Max Poneroff again for agreeing to answer a few questions about his game. Your input really helped me see this experience through a new lens and nudged me to entirely reevaluate how I wanted to approach this video, and I think it ended up better because of that. If you, the viewer, want more Starstruck or want to figure out how to keep in touch with whatever the creator ends up making next, I'll have some of the socials associated with his games and projects linked in the bottom, so you can go check those out. There's like a Discord link and a mailing list and anything you could possibly want. Additionally, I wanted to thank my wonderful partner for agreeing to join me on my second playthrough of the game so I could dig into some of the more weighty literary themes with someone else. They make art over on Bluesky, so consider checking them out. And speaking of Bluesky, I'm also over there. If you want more from me for whatever reason, you can find me by searching my name or just using what you see on screen. I post any and all art assets I end up making from my videos over there, as well as, weird takes on whatever ends up on my mind. Oh, and I also might start posting some more kind of non-standard videos over there that are different to what ends up over here. I don't know. We'll see where that goes. Anyways, this is really the end of the video. Thanks again for watching, and stay tuned for a much bigger project on the horizon. Alrighty, I'm out. Peace.